Images of Russian tanks en route to the nation's capital of Kyiv shook the West to its core and galvanized the U.S. and Europe to ship an unprecedented level of military aid to Ukraine.
So just very recently, this August, CBS released a documentary on a military aid to Ukraine that was filmed this April when war was just starting, and it was trying to claim that most of the Western military help is missing, it doesn't reach the front lines. They were saying that Ukraine is like a giant black hole for Western weapons. But it doesn't show proof other than the brief comments of a volunteer, Jonas, who is the founder and CEO of a blue-yellow Lithuanian organization that provides voluntary, non-lethal aid in Ukraine.
Welcome to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Jonas and his team work for the non-governmental organization Blue Yellow. Frontline fighters also need supplies like body armor, helmets, and other tactical gear. NGOs like Blue Yellow help fill that gap.
So today I'm going to show you how this so-called documentary was completely made up. I'll also show you the other quirks and manipulations CBS used to make people believe that the weapons are not being delivered to the Ukrainian army. By the way, this documentary is still up on YouTube, and if you haven't seen it, you should. The first link in the comment in this video will be to this documentary. Okay, so let's look at the facts that CBS have mentioned.
You know, all this stuff goes to the border, and then kind of like something happens, it kind of like 30% maybe reaches its final destination.
30%?
They have said that a large part of military aid disappears, quoting their only volunteer, Jonas, out of context. Journalists from Euromaidan reached out to Jonas and asked him about the comments that he made in the documentary with a little bit more detail. Here's what he said. "No, I never meant that some aid was stolen or disappeared. These are words taken out of context. I did not say that, and I did not mean that. I said that the efficiency of the support mechanism at that point in the second month of the war, which was April, was maybe 30 to 40% of what I would like to see. I know that in many cases aid was not supplied to people directly on the front line, but to other units. I don't have full access to the information, but know some things from my work with the military." Okay, so a very different answer than what you can see in the documentary. Well, let's look at the claim number 2.
The derailing of this supply run is one of the many ways desperately needed aid doesn't always make it to the soldiers who need it.
In CBS video, you can see Oman's car as a part of a convoy transporting aid to the front lines, including javelins and stingers. However, due to artillery shelling, the car was forced to return before reaching the front line. CBS doesn't explain what happened next with the supplies, except this quote.
Unable to move any further and out of sight of Russian drones, both the Greek and Jonas pulled back without delivering their supplies.
A statement that plants a seed in your mind. Jonas was asked about it again by Euromaidan journalists, and he said that the convoy arrived at the front line later than expected and that he was unaware of any cases of supply going missing, except for one at the beginning of the war. "We deliver everything. All things that we were supposed to do, we did. Everything we delivered. Maybe later, but all of it is there." Again, nothing like the CBS documentary claims. That puts things into context, doesn't it? Okay, so claim number 3.
You know, they're like power lords, oligarchs, political players.
They're not adding any references, nothing. Just planting suspicion in your mind yet again.
Some also reported weapons are being hoarded, or worse, fear that they are disappearing into the black market, an industry that has thrived under corruption in post-Soviet Ukraine.
Now, some people, including Western politicians, are concerned that weapons in Ukraine are being hoarded or may disappear into the black market. That is a legitimate concern. But we have Jonas on the phone. Let's ask him about bureaucracy and corruption obstacles, since he has a lot of experience on the ground in Ukraine. Honestly, the biggest problem we had as organization wasn't Ukraine. It was actually Poland. Polish regulations and rules change all the time. From the Ukrainian side, it became easier to provide support to Ukraine in many ways to various units, to armed forces during the war, because the situation is extreme. Right, let's move to claim number 4. Donatella Rovera, senior crisis advisor at Amnesty International, made this statement.
Do we have any sense as to where they're going? We don't know. There is really no information as to where they're going at all.
Well, she can't know this since she doesn't have access to this kind of information. And the majority of the documentary material is edited in a way that supports its controversial title. Ukraine has a monitoring system for weapons supplies control center, which is based at the European Command of the US Armed Forces, located in Stuttgart, Germany. And all partner countries' representatives have been officially invited to Ukraine to monitor the use of the weapons. During the first 2 months of the invasion, chaos on the battlefield made it difficult for foreign observers to understand what really was going on, and it's not in any way Jonas's fault in volunteers like him. So in the end, what do we have left out of the CBS documentary claims? Nothing. Nothing. It literally disappears. It vanishes. That's why it was taken down by CBS, not because of the pressure from pro-Ukrainian media, but because it's a blatant disinformation. It just is. There you have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Consider adding a sub to the channel for similar videos like that, and I'll see you, as always, in the next one.